Welcome to the RIOT Podcast, where we have practical discussions on how to share your faith, see the news from God's eyes, and answer some of faith's hardest questions.
Welcome to the RIOT Podcast. This is Bob alongside Bill and Pete. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great.
I heard, so I'm traveling this week. I'm on the West Coast, and I heard, Pete, that it snowed in Florida today. Is that true?
It's north. I know it snowed up north. This morning it was felt like 28 degrees, man. It was cold.
28 degrees in Orlando. I heard it was snowing in the Panhandle. I got a buddy who has a ranch, or a small ranch in Georgia. He said they got a couple inches of snow. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm going up to one of the cabins. I'll be going up there, and they got a lot of snow. So when I get there, there'll be snow all on the ground, I'm sure.
Excellent. And then, Bill, you said you're expecting an ice storm this weekend that we're praying doesn't happen, right?
Yes, that's what they're saying. We're praying it's either rain or snow, not in the middle. We don't want the ice.
No ice. You got a really cool thing going on this weekend in your church, and we don't want the ice to kind of mess that up. So pouring out and loving on your community. Man. Hey, you guys know what today is?
Martin Luther King.
It is. It's Martin Luther King Day.
You were trying to trick us, but we did know that.
We knew it.
I'm impressed because we didn't talk about it in the show prep, so I was just wondering. I was wondering if you guys were, up on current events. So that's cool. You know what else is going on tonight?
There's some kind of football game or something.
Oh, there's a big game on
there. There is the National Championship of College Football. And my beloved Florida State Seminoles are not in the game.
Not even close.
No, but the backup Miami are.
Yeah, well, I mean, even if Florida State was undefeated, they wouldn't allow them to play in the game anyway.
Exactly,
so,
yeah.
But we have, there's a track record for that. So it is. So
we'll go back to college.
We'll go back to college in a second, but using that same philosophy, does that mean Denver shouldn't get to play in the AFC Championship game this week because their quarterback got hurt?
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they should put there should be like a spare tire, a spare team they could put in there since he's got hurt.
That's kind of what they did to us, isn't it?
But there is a little difference because the professional, the next guy is still a professional and quarterback, so he's still going to perform at a high level.
Yeah.
No, not buying it. Good try though.
Okay.
You clearly are paid. You're clearly paid by the SEC and ESPN. Clearly. This week's show sponsored by ESPN.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the game. Indiana and University of Miami. My heart kind of wants Miami to win, but my head says that Indiana's going to crush them. I don't know.
I don't know about crushing. I think Miami, because Miami's a Cinderella team, and they're both kind of like they're both real teams, right? They're not like, hey, they have most gifted players in the game. Both of their recruiting. Even Indiana's less recruiting. Miami even has a higher recruiting class, I think. I could be wrong, but from what I've read or understood. So I just think that they've both have collectively come together as a team, and they're playing way above themselves. So I don't know if it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be competitive, I would hope.
I would hope so. I think it will be. I do think Bob has a point. I think Indiana is going to we talked about this last week, but man, if they play anything like they played in their last game, I don't think Miami has a chance. But I do think it's going to be closer than Bob thinks it's going to be.
Yeah, and I'm praying and hoping that it's a competitive game, that it takes us to the fourth quarter.
Yeah, because it'll be more fun to watch.
Well, yeah, that's what we want. A similar game to the Ole Miss game. That was great. That was fun to watch. Even if your team loses, it's still a great game. That's what I want to see. Yeah.
Well, and I don't really have a dog in the fight anyway. Right. So I just want to see a good football game.
Agreed.
Kind of like that New England-Houston game yesterday with the 26 turnovers.
That game was awful.
That was awful. Yeah, part of it was the weather. I get it. It was cold. It started like ice rain, so I get it. Finally, it turned into snow in the second half, and they still kept turning the ball over. So, kind of takes away some of their excuse about the wet ball. But I don't know. It was ugly.
Yeah,
it was rough. The best game of the weekend was by far the Chicago, I think, and Who do they play again? My mind just went blank. Rams.
The Rams, yeah.
Was it better than the Buffalo-Denver game?
That was, I mean, it was close, but I think this one, the Chicago one, was crazy again because of that. The quarterback and Caleb Williams of Chicago, that guy is like crazy, does weird things. I mean, he's basically running. He was on the 30-yard line, and the Rams blitzed him. He's running back to the 45-yard line, and he's on his back throwing the ball to the end zone, and the guy caught it.
Yeah.
Try to explain that. And then the same thing happened the week before against Green Bay. The guy's running for his life. He's throwing out of bounds on his back, and he hits the guy to save the fourth down.
What'd you say his name was? Caleb?
Caleb Williams, yeah.
Where did he play college ball?
USC.
I knew it. That's why.
He's a Heisman Trophy winner.
I'm like, wait a minute. There's something fishy going on here. I should have known he was a USC guy.
Yeah, but that's not the reason why it was a good game. It was a good game because it was crazy. But I told you about Caleb Williams way back. He's going to be like a Patrick Mahomes. He has the same kind of flair to
Patrick
him.
Who?
McComb.
Who? Is he? What playoff team was he on?
That was last year's playoff team when they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They didn't win the Super Bowl last year.
No, the year before. They didn't win last year?
No.
Philadelphia won last year.
The Eagles won last year, yeah.
I always forget, who won when. I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
Together.
Conveniently, because the Dolphins haven't won in 50 years.
So do you want to start us in prayer and we get going?
Yeah, let's go. What do we could talk about today? What do you want to talk about?
What do you want to title this show?
Well, I was thinking, let's just do a show on current events.
Yeah. I mean, so I was thinking,
kind of the world is kind of on fire, isn't it?
Yeah, so like world on fire, shifting global order. We'll call it that.
Ooh, I like it. So, So let me preface the show by saying this. This is going to be different than one of our normal shows. So this is going to kind of be a living room conversation. Three guys just sitting around talking, and we're going to give some opinions. So I just want to be upfront about that. So you may disagree with us. That's fine. Our opinions. We'll share fact where we know fact. We will share biblical truth where that is relevant, which is always relevant. But I just wanted you to know that we're not experts on some of these things we're going to talk about today, or we don't know exactly where it's going to go, but we're going to have fun doing it. And we've asked God for wisdom to direct us, so we're trusting the Holy Spirit will be involved as well. So it's going to be fun. But yeah, Pete said we're going to title the show "World on Fire: Shifting Global Order," and there's so much going on. This is Pete. This is when I wish we did a live show, so we could have people just put something in the chat, say, "Hey, talk about this," or "What do you think about this?" That would be a lot of fun. It would also be difficult, but it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. I mean, they could still do it. So, like, if they follow us and they see this show, put like what you want us to talk about in the comments in the future. So go to the riotpodcast.com or do any of our social media accounts, and then just follow us that way. And then we will look at it and we'll adjust. We'll do shows based off of what our listeners are looking for sure.
That's a great idea. And if you disagree with something Bill says, he likes it if you put it in the comments, but make sure you do it anonymously. Don't actually put your name down.
Yeah, and always, when you talk with Bill, always use all caps. All caps.
Yes. Well, in a disclaimer, I usually disagree with what I say, so it's fine.
Well, at least we're all on the same page.
Yeah.
All right, let me pray, and let's just jump into it and have some fun and see where the Lord takes us. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to do this show. We thank you for our listeners, Lord. There's so much going on in the world, and even titled the show "World on Fire." But Lord, we know that none of this surprises you. That you are aware of everything going on. You are in control, Lord, and we can just put our faith in you and follow you and trust you, and everything is going to work out fine. That doesn't mean we're going to like the way things are going to work out, but you have promised that you will work all things together for good. And so we're trusting in that today, Lord. So we're going to have an interesting conversation. I know it. And we just ask you to guide and direct it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
So I kind of gave the disclaimer already, but let me just start with this. So this week we're going to just tackle hard news items through a biblical lens and kind of go from there, helping Christians think biblically about what's going on in the culture, in politics, justice, and global events. Things are already popping into my mind of what we could talk about. But so we're just going to talk about today's hot topics. Yeah, go ahead.
What I think might be really good to do is we're going to probably talk about President Trump a lot as we go through it, because it seems like he is the main ingredient for everything that's happening in the world right now.
The common denominator. Yeah.
He's the common denominator. And so from what I understand, so let's just, I guess we'll start it with this way. He has he keeps citing this Monroe Doctrine. Okay. And sometimes I've been hearing people say Donroe Doctrine, right? Because they're saying it's after Donald Trump's or whatever. But the Monroe Doctrine, from the limited that I understand it, I mean, I've read through it, and many of our listeners probably have read through it. But what it's saying is that Europe or any outside influence cannot have, they cannot, come into our Western hemisphere to threaten us financially, through trade, set up in our backyard to, hurt our national security or anything like that. So Europe stays in there. And then what Donald Trump has done is he's taken it, I think, a little bit further, where he's saying Iran can't be here, North Korea, Russia, China. If they are set up in anywhere, the South America, North America, Central America, if they are influence those economies, they're too close to home. And so what you're seeing is Donald's, I don't know if you want to call it chess or whatever he's doing, but he's making moves all around the world that is with this mentality. And so what he's saying is that too often everybody, he feels, and this is what he keeps saying, he feels like everybody's been pulling from us, taking from us without giving back anything. Or if they are giving back something, it's not equal. It's not of equal value. We're giving a lot more than what we're getting back. And so when he looks at Europe and he looks at the Western Hemisphere or whatever else, he's saying we want to equal this out. So if we're going to give, our economy is allowed for 50 billion, your economy, if it's allowed for 20 billion, then you should be given the 20 billion. And we should not be giving, 10 billion of your 20 billion. He calls it subsidies. We should not be subsidizing your economy. So you've probably heard that with Canada. We're giving 250 billion in subsidies to Canada. He goes, well, the only people that I give that much to are states. And so if it's the United States, we're giving a state, we're giving those subsidies to it. We should make China or Canada should be a part of the, United States or whatever. So this is why he's saying all of these rhetorics. And then he's looking at it from strategic national security. So that's where Greenland comes in. And you have, he's saying that's part of the dome. And he's saying that, Russia and China have these icebreakers and they're up there and they're, these are all part of the Arctic, defense strategies and all of this stuff. And so he's like, no, that's not okay. We need to protect ourselves. We need to do something about it. So the rest of the world looks at us as like, what is this guy doing? What is going on? And so anyway, so what's your guys' thoughts? I mean, we could just start going from there. I mean, I think that helped give a little context to it.
Yeah, that was a lot. Yeah. So, I don't stay up on current events a lot, but when I'm watching this, when you don't know a lot of background, it does seem a little dominating, right, to do that. But Trump and our government obviously has a lot of information that we don't have as regular citizens every day, and it is our job to protect the sovereignty of our nation first and foremost. And so sometimes I think we just look at it from a lens of the average Joe, and it just seems overpowering, or it just seems, well, I've heard the term mean, right? And without knowing all of these, all the background information of what's going on, sometimes it just can seem overwhelming.
Yeah. Pete, I think maybe it would help. There's probably listeners out there that have never heard of the Monroe Doctrine until, the last week. And so I was just going to give kind of a quick cliff notes of what it means and where it came from.
Yeah, go for it.
So yeah, I mean, it was from James Monroe is what it's named after. I think he was our fifth president, somewhere around there.
Yes, fifth.
So was it fifth? And so early 1800s, and you got to kind of back up in history a little bit. There was a lot of colonization going on in the Americas. So you had England and Spain and France, and they're all like gobbling up parts of the Americas. And even on the West Coast, so you kind of had Russia, they had Alaska, and they were kind of coming south, and maybe towards Washington, Oregon, the fear of them coming in through the West Coast. So with that mindset, so Trump is thinking, okay, now we need to protect again, kind of like they did in the early 1800s. Now Trump is thinking the same thing. I need to protect America's interests by protecting the Western Hemisphere. Now, my first thought, I'm sure a lot of people's first thought is, well, there's nobody colonizing the Americas anymore. But that may not be true. So we're finding out how much influence China has in Panama. They had control of the Panama Canal for a while. They were definitely in control of some of the cartels in Mexico and Venezuela. So there is outside influence that I don't think anybody's realized or is paying attention to until now. And kind of Trump's brought that to the forefront. And Pete, you led off by saying everything kind of goes back to Trump, the world. I mean, is there a bigger personality in the world right now than Donald Trump? I mean, he's got, Taylor Swift might be number 2, but Trump is the most popular personality on the planet right now. I find, maybe it's because I live in America and I see it every day, but I got a feeling he is the most popular personality. Whether positive or negative, everybody in the world knows who Trump is.
Yeah, no doubt. Bob, I mean, if you're listening to Bob, obviously he's not in office, so he breaks up a little bit, but we got pretty much everything that you were saying, Bob. I'm on the phone on WhatsApp all over the world every day. And so like just this morning, I was talking to Israel, Italy, Spain, London, where else was I? I was in Africa, 3 different countries in Africa. That's just this morning. And every single person knows what's going on in the world right now. And Trump is at the center of all of it. So there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But again, there's a community out there that sees what President Trump's doing and they don't like it. Okay, so there's a community out there that's just saying that, well, why are you going in and taking a ruler out in Maduro in Venezuela? And not only that, you're taking him out, you're saying that you're prosecuting him for drug and that he's been indicted, I guess, in the United States and so forth. But not only that, you're even forthcoming and saying, yeah, it's because of the oil and because of the minerals, and we want to do that. And so when you look at the Monroe Doctrine and what he's thinking, what you're seeing is that he thinks that if anything is going to happen in the North and Southern Hemisphere, it's got to go through United States. United States, for the protection of all of them, he needs to see the transactions. He needs to see what's happening. United States, since they're the only superpower here, he needs to make sure that it's not going to be jeopardizing our national security, that it's not going to be setting other bad actors up to hurt us. And so, but the other people are like, well, what about this? And I don't see this, and this is wrong. And they're not, I think, and I don't know if it's right or wrong. So I don't know if we can even say that, yeah, that we agree with everything that he's doing. Right. I think I can comprehend it as an American citizen that I would want my president to protect me. So, and I do believe there's bad actors out there. I mean, we've seen them, and I know there's evil. Right. I mean, you can literally be outside doing absolutely nothing, and someone out of nowhere can do something evil to you. And so there's evil that's out there, and there's evil regimes in government. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on that part?
Well, absolutely, and ultimately, it is our government's responsibility to protect us and the sovereignty of our nation. I was just curious. You mentioned all of these communications that you have all over the world, Pete. What is the temperature on Donald Trump around the world? What does the world think? What's their opinion on it?
Well, right now, I mean, Americans are liked, okay, for the most part. So when they compare us to other nations,
Right.
Americans are always liked more. Okay, so that's not our government. That's just the people of America. So the people of America are liked. Our government, people, I mean, literally, I've heard this so many times. They're afraid to come to the United States, some of them, because they're being told that there's so much violence there. I mean, just look at what's going on in Minneapolis, right? They're saying there's so much violence there that it's unsafe to come to America. That's what they're saying. And then the other thing is that, Donald Trump is he's unpredictable. So is it safe for us to even come there? Is he going to mess up our economy? Is he going to do something to, cause havoc within our community? It's just uncertain. And I think that maybe part of President Trump's, I guess, maybe issue is, or it's being quenched a lot, is his messaging. Is Donald Trump for other people? Is he for other nations, Europe and all that? Does he really want to help them? Or is what he's doing, he doesn't care about those other nations, and his whole thought is America first, whatever benefits America the best, is the way that he's going to operate. And I think the rest of the world, because America always has been, hey, we want to, we want to give to the nations undercover. We want to give and help them out. We want to do these things. That's been our way of life. Where now, it's where's the messaging in that? There's confusion. So I don't know. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
Number one job of the government, honestly, is to protect us. I agree with that. But some of the ways he goes about it can kind of rub people the wrong way. But, I kind of wanted to, and if you have any other comments, jump in. But, if not, I kind of wanted to jump in with your thoughts, what you think about the whole Greenland thing. And Trump's getting ready to go to Europe to meet at the Davos. So this is a big event that happens every January, where all the financial leaders from around the world gather and tell each other how great they are. But Trump's going to go and be there for that. So like the perfect opportunity. If he's going to buy Greenland, he could probably bring his checkbook and while he's there. So my thoughts were kind of while we're still kind of at the end of the Monroe Doctrine here, let's talk about what you think is going to happen with Greenland and why is Greenland so important? I mean, I kind of have my thoughts why Greenland's so important, but I kind of want to hear what you guys think. Well, and what do you think Trump's going to do or say at Davos about Greenland?
Well, I don't know a lot about it, but here's my thought on Greenland. I think strategically, it's more about not so much about us having it as not letting someone else have it. A bad actor. Does that make sense? I think it's strategically located that we don't want some other bad actor, Russia, China, to control Greenland. So from a strategic standpoint, I think that's why it is important. And it's interesting. I don't know how that's all going to go down. We've talked about a lot of different things from Minneapolis to Greenland to.
We're going to talk about Minneapolis. We'll get there. So there.
How do you, whatever you think about Donald Trump and some of the decisions that he makes, how do we balance that from a Christian worldview to America First view, and balance all of that, right? And so these are great questions to have, great things to talk about.
Well, let's talk about Greenland and Davos. So Davos. I've been following Davos for many, many years because I really want to understand how the financial, world economy is functioning. I deal in the world economy, so I deal in the British pound, I deal in euro, I deal in all the different currencies, all the time, every day. I mean, I shouldn't every day, but I mean, constantly. I'm dealing with that. So I really want to know what's happening. What's the pulse? How strong is the dollar today? Right, the dollar right now is not very strong. We're getting beat up a little bit, especially when we're having to buy British pound or we're having to buy the euro. It's pretty bad. But Davos, what's been being said for the last 5-10 years, from what I've understanding, is they're looking at a new world order. Okay, so I mean, even Canada the other day went to China to buy EVs and come some sort of trade deal just to go against what Donald Trump's doing. And probably to look at maybe how to import or export some oils and so forth. But he even said, Carney said the other day, that this is part of the world order. Okay, so he said those actual words. Okay, so the Davos is really big on wanting to have one world system, one world government, and to have a control over, the money systems, where there's one money, where the dollar isn't it, euro's not it. There's a world economy that's functioning. And then BRICS is kind of countering that, right? BRICS is saying that we're going to get off of the dollar, right? We're gonna exchange currency. So oil, we're gonna exchange it in the currency of that person. We're not going to use the U.S. dollar. We're going to get away from that. And the reason why they get away from that is so they can't be sanctioned, right? Because they can be sanctioned based off the dollar. So they want to get away from that. But that's what Davos has been. And what Trump is basically said is that this whole new Green Deal, this whole Paris climate thing, all of these things that you guys have been doing before is no longer happening. And he's going in with a sledgehammer and he's disrupting everything. All of the flows in the world around us is being tampered with. And he's going in and he's looking at it and says, no, I don't agree with that. So here's normally what happens is there's a certain system or a certain flow. You say a certain thing, you negotiate a certain way, you go back and forth and so forth. And Trump's like, no, we're not playing that. Here's the way it is. We're putting tariffs on you. And if you want to negotiate, we'll negotiate from that. And this is the way it's going to be. And he's not given like they used to do. He's not, there's nothing happening like it used to. So Davos is like this financial hub, and they're looking at Donald Trump. It's like Donald Trump says, listen, if you're not going to be fair to America, this is his thought process. If you're not going to be fair to America, if you're not going to show us equal rights and be balanced here, according to the economies, according to we'll give our share, you give your share. If you're not going to do that, then you're going to have a problem. And we are going to do whatever it takes to disrupt you. And so that's what Trump's doing. We have to understand, again, it's part of the Monroe Doctrine. He's saying America first. America's going to take care of themselves, and we're gonna look for other nations to treat us well. Scott Bassett this morning before going to Davos, he said this. He said, "America first does not mean America alone. We're going to Davos because we do want to strike deals. We want to have trade. We want to have commerce. We want other nations to thrive, but we want equality. We want you guys to treat us where we're not the one footing 75% of the bill and you're only footing 25%. This is his mindset. And so Davos is a big deal. And then when he looks at Greenland, if you look at the map, Greenland's always been a part of the Northern Hemisphere. So since 56, United States has said that Greenland should be a part of the Northern Hemisphere. It should not be a part of Europe. And so Denmark comes in, and I don't remember what year, they said, well, we'll keep it sovereign and we'll protect it and we'll look over it. And Trump's saying, no, a part of the Monroe Doctrine is that Greenland has to be a part of the Northern Hemisphere. And now what he's saying, and I don't know how true this is, I don't know any of this stuff, he's saying that in order for our Golden Dome to work properly, we have to have Greenland, and we have to put on all of these missiles and all of these things to protect us from any of the Arctic attacks that come. And Russia's up there. And right now, from what we understand, is China has a major presence up there, from what I've read and what I've seen. So if China, why is China way up in the Arctic? Why? And I think that has to do with strategic alliance to be able to get bombs in, or to be able to get that into the northern hemisphere. And I think they have to do it through the Arctic. And so here's Russia and China now really getting in bed together, if you want to call it that, or getting, happy together. I don't even know what I'm saying. But anyways, they're really working well together. I can be careful what I'm saying. And so I think he's looking at Greenland as, that's a really big blockade for us to help us. So if we get our Golden Dome on that, and if anything comes from the Arctic, that's what it sounds like. So I don't know. What's your thoughts to that?
Well, I think you're right, especially with talking about the dome. We already know that missiles coming from Russia are going to go through the Arctic because it's just shorter. I mean, the shortest distance between 2 points is that way. So we already have Alaska on one side. If we have Greenland on the other side, that kind of opens up, or sets up our strategic defense. Okay. And can you hear me now, Bill?
I can hear you.
Okay. So strategically, that makes a lot of sense for us to have it. And it is Greenland. I mean, look at a globe. Greenland is in the Western Hemisphere. Like it or not. I don't know why it's part of the art. But it makes sense. So that's I think that's the big reason why Greenland's become such a big deal. And Bill said it earlier, it's not even as so much as us having it, it's not letting China and Russia get it, especially China. So Russia's already in the Arctic because Siberia's there. They already own land there. Greenland would be a huge hit for China. So, that's a big reason. And then the second thing is there's a lot of minerals and natural resources there that we can take advantage of as well. So I think those are two, there's just the two big reasons why Greenland is such a big deal.
So I think also for our listeners too, when we look at Canada and everybody gets upset with Canada, why is Trump doing this to our friends and our neighbors? And the reason why he's from the Monroe Doctrine, the reason why he's doing it is he feels, and the same thing with Mexico, and he feels with Mexico, the narco terrorists is what he calls them, are controlling Mexico. Okay, so he's thinking, all right, well, if they're controlling Mexico, that means that's a threat to us because it's not the government that's controlling Mexico, but the narco terrorists. And so the president this morning, Schaubarn or whatever her name is, she came out today and says that the last time that she goes, that's crossing the red line. If he puts boots on the ground in Mexico, that's crossing the red line. She said that this morning. And basically what she's saying is she said this at the end of her speech. She said the last time that happened, we lost territory. And so that's what she said. So she's saying that's a red line. That's not okay. But in the Monroe Doctrine, in the way that Trump is seeing it, is if there's narco terrorists that are running this country, then that's not okay for us. We don't have control over that. We don't have a really good relationship with them, right? We can't have any trade. We don't know whatever. They just do, and they just keep bringing in to our government a poison to be able to our nation a poison that hurts our country. So that's what he's thinking with Mexico. And with Canada, he's like, well, why are we protecting you and giving you all these subsidies where you are anti what we're trying to do? So if you agree the opposite of basically what we're trying to do, then his mindset is, well, that's not equality. We're not able to work together. And so he's disrupting all of that. And he thinks that if we're giving this much subsidies to Canada, then I don't, he doesn't want that to be, he doesn't think that's fair. And so whenever we move forward now, when we're looking at these nations or we're looking at these countries, I think this helps our listeners kind of understand, if they haven't already, but what he's doing or what he's thinking. So, and the same thing goes with us domestically. So we could talk about Minneapolis now or whatever. So I think it's the same kind of mentality all the way across the board.
Well, the thing, I like what you said earlier about America first doesn't mean America alone. But this idea of protection of our country, we just talked about Mexico and the poison coming over our southern border in regards to fentanyl alone. Last year alone, pushing 80,000 Americans died from fentanyl overdoses. Now, if somebody, any country, sent a bomb over and killed 80,000 of our people, wouldn't we address that?
Of course.
Yeah. So it's his job to whatever you think of Trump, it is his job to protect our citizens. And first means that we're able to be that city on a hill, right? We're able to be that good in a world full of bad to support other nations that may not necessarily be able to support themselves. But if we're not taking care of ourselves first, how in the world, no pun intended, are we supposed to take care of the world?
I agree.
That's a good point.
I agree 100%. I think during the Biden administration, I just saw this the other day. It was like 115,000, 110,000 people were dying from overdose of fentanyl. And then in 2025, it dropped significantly under Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's going to drop significantly again. So that trend is positive. So I mean, yeah, I agree with you on that. Bob, thoughts?
No, I completely agree. Pete, you brought up Minneapolis. I think that was probably a good segue to kind of move a little more domestic as we narrow in on our own country here. So I think everybody's aware of kind of what's been going on in Minneapolis. But here's my question. Maybe we can start with this. ICE is everywhere around the country, right? They're trying to round up people that are here illegally, especially people that are known, felons. We got people here that have not escaped, but were basically released from prisons in other countries and have poured into our country, right? Why are we only hearing about these issues in Minneapolis? What makes Minneapolis different?
Well, again, so the way that Donald Trump sees everything is that he believes that our system is broken. And so his approach is immigration is the main reason why we have voter fraud. Okay, so this is part of his thought process. When you listen to the context of what he's saying that we've had so many illegals come into our country without proper due process. They're not here legally; they're here illegally, and he believes that that they are voting, they are doing illegal voting, that they're doing that there's a lot of corruption, there's a lot of evil that are coming in. He just said that Venezuela was sending their insane people to the United States. And again, we don't know how to back all this stuff up. We can only go with what the news or what people actually have. But this is what he's saying, right? So in our country right now, there is a mess of illegals. And so the ICE's responsibility is to go in to identify those illegals and then to remove them from our country because they're here illegally. Our immigration laws that are on right now are obviously messed up. I have a lot of issues with some of our immigration laws, especially, helping people find pathways to citizenships. And then if they do find a pathway to citizenship, it's like they have to spend $30,000, $40,000, and then they don't even know if they are for sure going to be able to get into the United States on some cases. But so anyway, that's just immigration, I think, needs to be reformed. I think everybody in the United States feels that way. But the reason why there's so many problems, especially like hotspots like Minneapolis, is right now there's a Muslim community there, the Somalians, that are they have a anti-democratic policy in there. It's jihad. It's a whole different kind of way of doing. And they don't look at our government the same way as we do, right? So they're in place, they're voting in certain people. Many of them are here legally, some of them are not here illegally. So it's a hot spot for that reason. Donald Trump believes that there's voter fraud there. He does not like the Governor Walz that well. I hate that he calls him names and he does those things to them. I hate that Trump does that all the time.
Yeah.
When he calls people names, he demeans people. He puts people down. And to me, it's horrible. And I hate that part of what Trump is doing. But he feels that Tim Walz is not a good governor. The mayor there is not a good governor or mayor. And so the immigration's there, and they have their rhetoric. If you listen to Tim Walz's rhetoric and you listen to the mayor's rhetoric, it's pretty anti-American. It's like fight against immigration, fight against the ICE agents. I mean, it's pretty ugly what they're saying and what they're doing. And they have a base there that's just gotten riled up, and they're wanting to have war, basically. And that's happening in all the major cities, especially the sanctuary cities that are around. So again, what is Trump's doctrine in this? Trump wants to eliminate the illegals so that we have a fair and balanced election. I believe that's the bottom line, and that we have all of the bad people that are threatening our nation or threaten our citizens are removed, so that it's American citizens and so forth. But it's not addressing immigration law. It's not addressing pathway forwards. It's not doing any of that. Right now, all he's doing is just trying to remove this, and he's addressing this. And he believes that immigration has a lot to do with illegal, the voting problems and so forth. Anyways, thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that's true. So what do we do with that, right? As Christians, let's kind of turn this to a Christian worldview. What do I do with that? How do I handle that? And, I live in the Dallas area, and we have a huge Hispanic culture here, and there's the media has done, I was going to say a lousy job, but honestly, they've done a really good job at putting fear into people that have no reason to fear anything. And so, my job as a pastor is to minister to people, right? To fulfill the Great Commission, to make disciples. And so how do you balance that? Obviously, I'm not the government. Government's job is to protect our sovereignty. My job is to win people to Jesus. And so how do you balance all of that?
That's the whole point, is we, as a society, our natural response is to focus in on the problem.
Right.
And so we want to have our say, we want to have our voice, we want to focus on the problem, and then we want to fix the problem, right? So there's a part of us, we're in the world but not of the world. And I believe that Christians or followers of Christ should be a part of politics. Obviously, we should be involved in politics, but we should not look at it from the world system perspective. We need to look at everything from God's perspective. And ultimately, what we need is to put our eyes on Jesus, not on the problem fixer. Yeah. We need to listen to him. We need to have hope in him. We have rest in him and peace in him. And everything and all of our policies and how we approach everything should be based off of how God sees it all. And that's the way that we need to move forward. And so if we're trying to negotiate with people, so we have people on both sides of the aisle or whatever that is, we need to negotiate coming from God's perspective. We need to look at it from God's perspective. And I believe God's perspective is both Democrat and Republican. I really do believe that both Democrat and Republican views, there's especially when it comes to some parts of immigration, some parts of dealing with the oppressed and people that are hurting and so forth, that there's a lot of common ground there if we could just look at it from God's eyes. I think some of these policies, though, that are like, for instance, the gay marriage or the transgender or all of that stuff, if we look at it from God's eyes, God is like, that's not of God, right? We're not that. The Bible's very clear there. So we need to approach that, seeing it from that way, not with vengeance, not with bitterness, not with evil, but we need to approach that, seeing it in love, that, hey, this is not our design. This is not, let's look at it from a common sense perspective. Let's try to work from that perspective. And obviously, because there's evil, because there's true hate that's out there, there's going to be some things that we're just not going to be able to see eye to eye on. And that's what we're seeing today. There's just some things in our systems, in our laws, that we as Christians rise above. We don't get caught up into that. We don't get worried. We don't get fearful of that. But there are some things in our systems today where it's just pure evil, and that we as followers of Christ do not allow or do not accept into our hearts and our minds, because it's just completely contrary to what God's word says. Yeah. So I don't know, Bill or Bob, Bill, thoughts on that?
Well, I agree completely what you guys are saying, and Bill, thanks for bringing kind of the change of focus. We need to what does God want us to do with this? And right. Before you said that, I'm like, man, I had one more topic I wanted to talk about in Minneapolis. Now I'm like, do I really even want to bring it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'll bring it up anyway. One other note on Minneapolis thing, and really just a question for you guys, kind of get your thoughts. Much of the uprisings over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, are on purpose, or is it a distraction to kind of hide the fact that $9 billion in fraud was discovered in Minneapolis? I mean, is it just coincidence that both these things happened at the same time, or is it by design?
No, I think they planned that. I mean, it seems like once the fraud thing started coming out, we started seeing more immigration and more news about it.
Yeah.
So I think that it goes hand in hand. I truly believe there's fraud on both sides, but it does seem like there's more fraud in sanctuary cities from what I can observe. Again, we only are limited to what we're given, right? So it's very difficult to actually have to research this ourselves and to actually look at this. But on the surface level, from what we're seeing, it seems like the sanctuary cities has a lot more fraud than the non-sanctuary cities. Now, listen, it like we've said this many times, it's so difficult. If you're just listening to like Fox, or you're listening to CNN or MSN, you're getting only one side of the story. Okay, so You're not hearing both sides. So I would cautious you with that. But if you can, and some of us, if you don't have time to actually research it yourself, or God hasn't called you to do this, then you just need to trust the Lord and do the best in seeing it from God's perspective. But from what it looks like, there's fraud. And so, yes, should our government step into fraud?
Absolutely.
I mean, come on. I think there's common sense to that. This whole Doge thing, right? We've heard about the fraud. It's like, I don't know why people, regardless if you're Democrat or Republican, I don't know why you would think that that's wrong unless you're a fraudulent person yourself.
Yeah,
and unless you're covering something, you're benefiting from the fraud.
Nobody should be fraud, right?
Right. I mean, I don't want to get political here either, but on both sides of the aisle, when you go to DC and you're taking a 6-figure income, and within a couple of years you're worth multi-millions of dollars, to me there's a problem there that needs to be looked into. Accountability. And so when we know that there's fraud, it has to be investigated. It has to be brought to the forefront, and it needs to be prosecuted to the fullest, because it's not acceptable. This is the people's money that's being abused, and it's not acceptable.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So I mean, that's, for us as followers of Christ, we need to pray. Pray that the fraud is revealed, that God shows this, because God is not fraudulent. He doesn't work that way. He doesn't operate that way. And so we need to pray that God reveals that stuff, and that it's done properly.
Right.
The ultimate goal is we want revival.
Well, I was going to just say that, but the flip side to that is, don't get so caught up in it as a child as an ambassador for Christ, that's all you're talking about, because it's easy to get sidetracked on the news cycle, on the latest craze, and the world is crazy, but on the latest fire, and be so focused on talking about that you're not sharing Christ. And that's exactly what Satan would want us to do, to be so sidetracked on the things of, not that they're not important, but if he can get us sidetracked off of discipleship, off of evangelism, then he's won, right? And so we don't want to be sidetracked.
That's awesome. Well, Bill and Pete, I think revival, somebody just mentioned revival. I don't know if it was Bill or Pete, but Pete segue to the next topic I wanted to ask you guys about, and that's Iran. What's going on in Iran right now? First of all, I mean, talking about uprising, but this is a different kind of uprising, right? It's the people kind of Honestly, it reminds me a lot of what happened in America in 250 years ago, where they're rising up against a tyrannical government and they just want freedom. And I think that's what's going on in Iran right now. But I'd like to hear what you guys think. Pete, you said you were on WhatsApp. You're on WhatsApp talking to other people around the world?
Oh
Is
yeah,
that
my ground team in Israel we are directly in contact with a lot of the high-ranking government officials, and so we get real-time information of what's going on the ground, especially because it deals directly with what we do over there, and so we're always getting real-time information. But I've been talking about Iran for the last week and a half with all of our ground team that are there. One of the things that they're constantly saying is that there's going to be a swift attack or something that's going to happen to Iran. So if we're airing this on the 19th and what time we come out on Thursday, my thoughts is it might already have happened. So if you're listening to this, Iran might have already been attacked or something by what's going on. So why is this happening? Well, a Persian person that I've ever met, Iranian person, and I've met quite a few, and I've had a couple friends that were from Iran. They have been amazing people. That's just me personally, so I don't know who else can say it, but they've just been really good people. From what I understand from my friends that are in Israel, they are they have a lot of more friends than us that are in Iran, but their government absolutely hates Israel people. And so what Bibi Netanyahu, and what they've been saying lately is Israel is constantly telling the Iranian people, hey, listen, we need to get back to where it was in the Old Testament. We've been friends forever, right? It's only just recently when the Ayatollah was a part of that we've become enemies. We've never been enemies, right? Artaxerxes and all the way back when, we've been friends with Iran. And so we want to be friends with Iran. And Bibi Netanyahu keeps telling people, that's Benjamin Netanyahu, keeps telling the Iranian people, listen, you guys have such smart people there, and that you should be the new Silicon Valley. You should be all of your intelligence and everything that you guys have been doing, that should be happening, but your government is not allowing that. So he's encouraging them. And then there's also the president or the prince or the other guy, I forget, king maybe. He's been talking about them revolting and asking the police and the military to not listen to the orders and don't kill the people, don't do all this stuff as they're trying to rise up. And I really believe from again, we only get what we get from the news, so we don't know for sure.
Right.
But we do get a little bit more balance on X, because there's a satellite there, the Starlink that they have there, and they're giving real-time footage of what's going on. So we can actually see that and talk to the people and getting that, so we don't have to listen to what the news only says. We can actually get real-time footage. And it sounds like they've had enough with their government. And so if that's the case, then this government has always come out and said they hate us. They want to blow us off the face of the earth, United States. They absolutely want to blow and destroy Israel. And so from Trump, again, you got to look at his doctrine, the way that he thinks. So from his perspective, why am I allowing this actor that wants to destroy me and one of our friends to continue on? And so his mindset is that needs to stop. We should not allow them to have nuclear bombs. We should not allow them to have this. They have pure evil and hate towards us. And so that needs to be stopped. And so that's kind of what's going on there. So these people, he wanted to wait till the people rose up. The people are rising up. From the reports that they're getting is that they're good people. They want to do what's right. And so I think that's what's happening. Bill, thoughts?
Yeah, that's it. The differential between the government, the religious government, if you want to call them that, and the people themselves is the difference between them. Because the things that I'm hearing, and it's not a lot, but the things that I'm hearing is that the people are rising up and they do want to do what's right. The government's just purely corrupt. And so how do you balance that? How do you hopefully the people will take care of Iran. And that's my prayer. My prayer for the last couple of weeks has been for the church of Iran, the Christian Church of Iran to rise up and come up out of hiding, and we're seeing a lot of that. We're seeing some reports of that, but we're also seeing a lot of persecution. Those that are rioting, that are getting injured, going to the hospital, they're being shot in the ER in the hospital when they bring them in. And so I'm hearing different reports that just are catastrophic. And so certainly our prayers are with the people of Iran, certainly with the church.
And the church in Iran is thriving. So I have reports from missionaries that are telling me that it's really doing well. And the other thing that missionaries have been telling me is a lot of the church is being evangelized by Chinese missionaries. So
Wow.
a lot of the Chinese missionaries are in Iran right now, and they've been doing a really good job at sharing the gospel with the Iranian people. You know, we're going to close with this, but the world, we call it the world on fire, shifting global order. It's the whole mindset is Donald Trump is causing ripples everywhere. Okay. So it's he's at the center of all of this. Good or bad, wrong or right, whatever that is, we as followers of Christ need to put our trust in Jesus. We need
Amen.
to look above that. We've talked about this a number of times on the show. There's a lot of problems, okay? That's just not in our world, not in our states, not just in our own personal lives. There's problems, there's circumstance everywhere. Satan wants us to focus in on the problem. He wants us to try to, we get so caught up in the problem. We get so caught up in it that it can depress us. It can cause anxiety in us. It can cause worry. It can cause fear. And God is constantly saying, listen, just get your eyes on me. When we're in God's presence, there's peace, there's joy. And he's very clear, and God has always been faithful, and he's always sovereign. He knows what's going on. And in his presence, we will have eternal peace.
That's right.
We will have joy. Our souls will be calm. We won't get caught up in the anxiety and in the chaos that's happening in the world. And here's the other thing is, we know the Bible says that the God of this world is chaotic. Everything about him is chaos. And God says he's the opposite of that. He is peace. He's joy.
Right.
And so if we're allowing the chaos of the world to dictate our moods, then we're sinning and we're not surrendering to God, and we're dwelling upon something that is not okay. And so we talked about a lot of things today, and we just gave our 2 cents, and we hopefully maybe gave because Donald Trump is the main character here. Hopefully we gave a kind of a bird's eye view of how he's thinking in context from what we've read, what we've studied, and all that. But I know that there's people here that are listening and are like, yeah, that was a good show, but man, that doesn't change my anxiety or my worry level or all of that. Lord, Bill, talk to those people and share, where your heart with them and so on.
Sure. Dan, and we're not saying that if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ and you're focusing on Jesus Christ that you won't have trouble. We just know that our peace and our joy come from who Christ is and his sovereignty. And so no matter what trouble we're going through, that he's still God, he's in control, nothing surprises him. His kingdom's going to come, his will is going to be done here on earth as it is in heaven. James, I'm going through the book of James right now here at Waxahachie Bible Church. And so James tells us, so count it all joy when you have trials and tribulations and temptation. Not if, when. So the world is certainly full of trials and tribulations, but having a relationship with Jesus Christ, your hope and your peace and your joy are all in who he is and his sovereignty, not on the circumstances that you might be dealing with today or tomorrow or next week. And so what's great about having a relationship with Jesus Christ is, listen to this. This is great. You don't have to do anything but believe. He's done all the work for you. So the Bible says, believe on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ and you will be saved. And so if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord, believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved. And so I just want to challenge you today. Maybe you've been trying to work your way to God, trying to be good enough to be acceptable to God. Recognize that Jesus has died on the cross for your sin. He rose again. He did that to take away your sin. And believing in that, simply believing in that, begins your relationship with Christ, and he desires a close, intimate relationship with him. And let's be honest, this world's chaotic. We need a relationship with the God that's sovereign, who's in control of all things, despite what's going on in this world. So, hey, if you made that decision today, we desperately want to know about that. So, Bob, how can they tell us?
Thank you, Bill. I would just ask you to go to our website, the riotpodcast.com, scroll down to the bottom of that first page, and there's just a contact section. You can share your experience. You can share any questions you may have. You may have a thought or a question that came up from this show that we didn't answer, or new topic you want us to cover, and share all of that there as well. If you're watching us on Rumble or on YouTube, just comment below, and we'll respond to you that way. And then I would also encourage all of our listeners to just podcast, go to social media sites, whether it be X, Facebook, or Instagram. And it's a great way to connect with us, to reach out to us, to ask us questions, and or share feedback that you have. And all that, we would really appreciate that. And I want to leave you with this kind of encouragement. So the Apostle Paul was encouraging Timothy, and encouraging us as well today. And let me share this with you quick. This is in 1 Timothy chapter 2. It says, "First of all, then, I urge you that supplication, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all who are high positions, that we may lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way." And I just kind of want to leave you with that today. So God bless you guys. Have an amazing week of worship.
Amen. God bless you.
This has been the Riot Podcast. If you liked what you heard today, please feel free to leave a comment and share it with your friends. See you back here next week for another episode of the Riot Podcast.